Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon is about to come out, and the critics don't seem all that fond of this. Have you paid close attention or any attention to this?
Yes, a little bit of it. This has been an intriguing story. This is kind of Zack Snyder's first big thing post Snyderverse stuff, and the reason why I got more intrigued by it was because he had an this is what she's saying, or they, or whatever you want to call Max Visaggio.
Yes.
Was hand-selected by Zack Snyder to do the prequel comic for Rebel Moon. Weird, I mean, I almost said casting, but that actually probably is accurate.
A lot of people would say that.
Yeah, that's probably accurate.
A lot of the way people are selected for jobs these days are, in effect, casting.
Yeah, I would say that's about accurate, but yeah, way to zap your enthusiasm there by going with, of all people, Mags, to do your prequel comic. So yeah, critics not liking it is very surprising, but it'll even out. We'll see how good or how bad it is.
I guess I'm out of the loop, but who is that person?
So this interesting cat we talk about, and we probably will talk about on the show, everything wrong with comics, and this person is, I believe, they're trans, and is everything wrong with comics, but not because they're trans, because they are very ideological. I don't know if you remember that deal that was going around where there was a writer that wanted to turn Superboy, Connor Kent, into trans. That was her. That was Max Visaggio. That was.
There is a correlation between identifying as trans and having a certain ideology.
Yeah. I mean,
we can just put that right out.
If we're being fair, yeah.
And a big part of the problem with a lot of this now is one of the things you touched on earlier is that when people do this, they don't work within the constraints of the character,
Not at all.
which should be something that should be paramount and extremely important. Is that you take just earlier this year, David Zaslav talked about they were just now creating character Bibles for like the next round of movies.
That is insane.
Did this not exist before? There should have been a character Bible that goes all the way back to the beginning of these comics, right?
The reason, that in itself is an admission that it's a free-for-all and people are kind of just doing whatever stories it is that they want, especially in the comic books. But no, you bring a person like that on and there's an expectation that there's going to be some sort of, you're going to be beat over the head with some sort of social issues. Mags has no problem going on tangents about trans this and trans that. Actually bragged not too long ago, may have been like 5 days ago, was bragging about some, didn't say who it was.
Didn't list the character.
Didn't list the character, but hey, they got an opportunity for some big company to trans another character, and they're bragging about it. So you know what you get when you get those types of people.
At least it's not a child.
That's
we're not
that's a fair
transing
point.
children.
And
Fictional.
the amount of like, and the thing is though, is Snyder isn't like, people act like this is different because he's got the strong female lead for this movie. The name of the movie is literally called A Child of Fire. Like that's not new for him. Like this is perfectly in line with him. You guys were talking about Watchmen earlier, which is a lot of people believe to be his best work, right? And I found this movie. Look, I'm just over the CGI these days. Like I keep going back to this movie called The Creator that came out this year, which whatever you think of the story, Gareth Edwards did so much with just $80 million, and it's because he didn't use massive green screen or blue screen sets. So you got a lot of actual lived environments, which the CGI isn't placed on top of, which you can connect with better. But I understand that when you're doing Galaxy style comics or Galaxy style stories, you're going to be majority CGI. But just because of the sheer brunt of the material that we get like that now, I've just checked out.
Well,
I've just checked
most
out.
of these negative critic reviews are just saying they're trying to sandwich together as many sci-fi tropes and aesthetics as possible, and that it's confusing. I know we have some viewers who live in Britbong, and it's out on Netflix in the UK, or if you have a VPN, let us know what you thought if you saw it already.
It is also fair to point out that, look, whenever the critics agree with you, everyone uses it as an own. But whenever the critics disagree with you, then suddenly it doesn't matter. That comes up a lot.
Or the opposite, like, I'm gonna really, really love this because the critics hate it. Is often what we're seeing. Look, this is interesting. Look, I'm not that intrigued about it. I know people are really into that sort of definitely space exploration and all of that stuff. Will we say that this is kind of trying to exist in the vein of a Star Wars? Will we say that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are saying that this is basically his answer to Star Wars.
Okay.
And he could have seen, and Netflix could see this as a viable market share because of how much hate The Last Jedi got. Like, so as soon as what is the AI on Twitter now? What's it called?
Grok.
Okay. The first thing I did, because it gave me a wrong answer when I asked it a question. Remember, I asked it a question the other day and it gave me a wrong answer. But I said, what is the most polarizing Star Wars film? And it immediately says The Last Jedi. You can't deny the cultural impact that the backlash on that film had, because then everyone went into The Rise of Skywalker with apathy. There was no actual desire to see it. They kind of won it back a little bit early Mandalorian, but then they lost it after they fired Gina Carano. Mm-hmm. So there is this hole that needs to be filled for people who love stories about space exploration. Yes, I guess some people don't really hate Star Trek right now. There's Star Trek properties that people are enjoying, but that's more space exploration as opposed to space opera, which is different, right?
Okay, I can see that. Yeah.
So like there's a market to be filled here, but I just don't know if putting this on Netflix when a movie like this probably should go to the theater anyways.
Well, it's in some theaters.
But that's the problem. Like, we went and saw Glass Onion, the Rian Johnson movie Glass Onion in the theater, and I actually enjoyed that experience. And they had a movie called Extraction 2, which was like the last great Netflix movie that they've made because the action is really, really good. But that deserved to be seen in a theater, not necessarily just going and watching it at home on a smaller television.
Yeah, I think it was, which it doesn't look like it's going to work, but I think they really wanted Rebel Moon to be this kind of big next new property, right? Yeah. Like it was going to be in the vein of a Star Wars, having its own sort of universe. This is why they're doing this whole prequel comic thing. This is why they're guaranteeing basically this sort of part 2. I just don't know if the enthusiasm is there to sort of pull that off. It doesn't seem to be the case, but yeah, that was risky. Let's just say that, going right into Netflix, going right into streaming, not having it be in stores, especially when it comes to getting a return. This is how these things work, right? They want to justify how much money they're going to spend in the future, and how many people are going to get Netflix to watch Rebel Moon, right? Like I don't think that's happening, right?
No.
So with that being said, you probably were better off just putting it in theaters and seeing what happens.
And it seems to me that when they try to build these things at the corporate level, it feels inorganic. So whenever they try to launch the next big property, people can smell the corporatization a mile away, and it just doesn't catch. The reason why Wednesday was such a success is because nobody really expected it to do as well as it did. All the ones that have found success in the last year, it's unexpected, right? It's not like some big property that they said, this is the next big thing, it's going to do big numbers, and then it actually lives up.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're starting from, hey, everything's big budget, and they're not like, to your point, I guess organic is a good way to put that, because generally speaking, these things start off in, let's say, some comic or something like that. It gets and that's like a trial run, and then they end up justifying turning into animation or live action. You're not really getting it with this. This is like we're starting big box right out the gate, and we're spending. I don't know what the budget is on this thing.
It's high. I think it's over $200 million.
Okay, that's insane. They're not making that back. They're not getting anything close to that in like. Again, people signing up for Netflix to get that. So if they spent that much money, this is going to be an L. But I get it. If you're
166 million.
That's still a lot. That's still a crazy amount, especially for something that's not going to be in theaters. And look, Netflix, I know they got on the other side of it. There was a time there where like nobody was making money in streaming, including Netflix. And I think Netflix became the one that ended up being profitable.
It's the only one that's profitable.
Yeah, only one that's profitable right now. But is it going to be, again, I mean, you got to look at it kind of in context. Like, are people signing up for Netflix to watch Rebel Moon, and how are you going to recoup those fees? Because if they spent that much, you got to add X amount for marketing and everything else. I doubt it, right? So they are moving. They're starting backwards, I guess.
I'm double checking on somebody's saying Rebel Moon budget was 80. I want to double check because I don't want to be the fake news. Okay. But here on Wikipedia it says budget 166 million shared with the second part. So probably,
So
two
films.
between one
Gotcha.
and two.
Gotcha. Okay, so that makes sense.
We are not fake news here, guys. We're not fake news here. But even when the budgets are that high, right? Like, it's very, very hard, because we always talk about when the strike was going on, like, all this money comes from one pot. Like, and we're going to actually talk about this in a little bit, because there's a story that says, like, the 90% of all the stuff on Netflix gets almost no views whatsoever. So these people want to make royalties while not actually driving any viewership.
That all the time, yes.
Yeah, dude.
And people keep their Netflix subscription for the illusion of choice.
Yes.
They don't watch any of it.
Or they watch the comedy specials or the same thing. Or I literally keep Netflix for, like, Actually, no, I don't even really keep it for that anymore because I love old school procedurals, right? And then some of them are on all of these networks. So NCIS, which is something I fall asleep to, I can get all however many seasons, but I don't even need that now because it's on Paramount Plus, which has all of these licensed CBS shows because it's a subsidiary, right? So like they're trying to build this out, but there's just no way that you're going to make it back because their subscriber growth is slowing year to year.
Yeah.
You've reached a large market cap because of what happened with COVID. Everybody was stuck at home, so everybody signs up for their streaming services. But now they're bleeding viewers in a lot of cases. Disney, a lot of people believe that what's going to happen is like the reason Disney bought Hulu is because they want to fold the numbers in to kind of be able to put off having to tell people that they've actually hit their subscriber mark. Right?
Yeah.
So they have to, and we all know that Hollywood loves funny accounting.
Oh, that's funny money. It's all day long, moving numbers and paying yourself, and then they do all that good stuff.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.